Hello, everyone. Happy Fata Morgana Monday. Let's just ignore the fact that last week didn't happen, aka I did not upload a video last week, but that's okay. We're back. And I'm really excited to get to this part. I know it's gonna be a lot. I know it's gonna be a lot. Just a big trigger warning for a lot of stuff. I'm sure there are a lot of resources to look it up on. I'll probably have a pinned comment once I learn the actual things involved. I just know a lot of people are warning for this door. For anyone warning me, I'm totally fine. But thank you. I appreciate everyone worrying. I should be fine. I'll probably just bawl my eyes out or be really freaked out, but I'll be okay. Thank you though. But I guess let's just get to it. Let's just start. Let's go. I tried not to look too much about any of the triggers because I know this game doesn't have any that will set me off because I have friends who have played this game and they would have warned me, and they would know. Because I didn't want to be spoiled about anything that happens. So, um, if you are worried personally, I should have a pinned comment about it. It had been several days since I left the capital, and I could still see it when I closed my eyes. The people lined up on the Grand Pont, awaiting entry, eager to start a new life there, brimming with hope. It was a city people were willing to pay high taxes to live in. If you were a performer, you could get some of those costs shaved down a bit by putting those skills to use. The capital was harsh on those who wanted in, and apathetic about all who left. It was composed of a powerful nobility and clergy, wealthy merchants and bankers, and a large population of poor. And it was the city I had called home for a long time. I didn't know much about where I was heading. It's getting foggy. Looks like it might rain. Ooh. I've made an executive decision that I am not going to go with the maid's voice for Giselle, even though the maid is, you know what I mean. I'm gonna do white-haired girl's voice. So far, that's my executive decision. Maybe we should take a little break. You want to keep going? Oh, all right then. The coachman was frustratingly taciturn. He acted as though he had gotten stuck transporting a prisoner, though that was hardly a stretch. From his point of view, I was nothing more than a criminal. Even the times he would acknowledge I had said anything, he made no effort to hide the scorn in his eyes, to pretend he didn't regret ever taking this job, and I would just fall silent again. The road was gradually getting narrower. We had long since left the paved city roads behind, and were now traveling along a couple worn-down groves in the forest. How did I end up here? Why was I being subjected to this? I was done thinking about it. The more I thought on it, the less fair it seemed. The more I remembered, the worse it hurt. All I could do anymore was close my eyes and weather the storm. Deep within the dense woods, a mansion appeared before us, like the world fading into view after a dream. It didn't seem to be an especially large house, but it had obviously been constructed with a great deal of care, and it was, thankfully, not standing in ruins. This deep in the forest? The carriage came to a stop, and the coachman climbed down, signaling with his chin for me to get out. Thank you very much. You must be tired after such a long journey. This is the mansion I am looking for, yes? But the driver didn't even acknowledge me, getting back onto the carriage and setting off into the forest. He seemed to want to get as far away from here as quickly as possible. I could have said something. Oh well. That was about all I could say. Anyway, oh well. I couldn't blame anyone for my being here, or for his wanting to get out. I should get going, I guess. Getting a better look at it, the house's windows were, strangely enough, all shuttered. It was probably dark as pitch inside. Does no one live here? But if that's the case, then why was I placed my hand on the front door. Such a big door. What if I couldn't get in? I had no idea what else there was in the area. If the door didn't open, then I would die out here in the forest. I've come to accept much, but I was not ready to forfeit my life yet. Please open. It's not locked, I guess. The door was heavy, and though it seemed to protest my attempts to enter, it still opened much easier than I was expecting. I was worried over nothing. Looking in, I got the strangest impression that light was being swallowed up into the mansion's depths. Rather than going inside, it felt as though I was about to step outside the boundaries of this world. When I closed the door, it was so dark I couldn't even tell where I was walking. I wonder if the window's open. Though I managed to fumble my way over to a window, it was tightly shuttered and the shutters caked with rust. I was probably not getting it open without a fight. Darn, not a hint of light. I couldn't even see my hand waving in front of my face. It felt as though the floor would fall out from under me and I would sink into eternal darkness if I didn't watch my step. Fighting back that fear, I slowly walked forward, tracing the wall with my hand. There was a door at the end of the long corridor. I pulled it open and a wisp of bone-chilling air brushed past me. It was too dark to see anything, but I could feel something different present in the area than the rest of the house. Uneasiness gripped me. Hello? Is anyone there? Please don't tell me it's actually abandoned. I suppose I can't know without looking around a bit more. My voice simply disappeared into the void. No response. As I pushed forward through the freezing air, for a split second, I spotted a shimmer of light. Squinting my eyes, I was able to make out a large window. Unlike the others, it wasn't shuttered. What do we have here? Drapes? I see a little light beyond. My chances were slim, I imagined, but if there was even a slight possibility of getting some light in here, it was worth a shot. So I pulled open the drapes. And there he is. The next moment, faint but colorful light shone down on me. It was a stained glass window. From beyond the glass, I could hear the subtle pitter-patter of rain. It had finally started, it seemed. The different colors of light blended into a milky white, dim but wondrous. It's so pretty. It looks like an angel. Why would someone cover this up? It's beautiful. With a little more light, it'd be... Please don't touch the drapes. Or the windows. Suddenly, I heard a voice, and I could sense someone else in the room. The man's voice was emotionless, neither deep nor high. Before long, he came into view, illuminated by dull orange candlelight. There is our man. I'm sorry for coming in uninvited, but I did announce myself. The man stood there, practically blending in with the darkness. Had he been there the whole time? He was staring straight at me. His gaze wavered slightly, but not enough for me to read anything in it. Then again, I could hardly make out any detail at all under the light of a single candle. Is this, your mansion? It is. Thank goodness. I was afraid it was deserted. I suspect you would have preferred it if the house were abandoned. Oh, not at all. I would be scared to death staying in this dark mansion all by myself. I'm sorry. No ill will intended. But I do think it could do with some light. That way you could see where you were walking. And I'm sure this room would look splendid illuminated. Not necessary. I make do perfectly well as things are. How can you see when it's so dark? I have an abundance of candles and oil for lamps. I'm not in want of means of creating light. That feels like a double entendre, actually. I wonder if there's... I don't actually think there's anything here in this store, but I just wanted to take a little peek. Just in case. Yeah, that's from earlier. I don't think so. I might peek in here just every now and then just to see. It is not your place to criticize my lifestyle. If you need light, you're free to leave. If you're in need of money, help yourself to some of the furniture. There's a village not too far from here. Trade it for food, then make your way to a larger town. I am no longer able to freely return to the city. I cannot go back there. Please, don't chase me out. I see. And do you ask this of me, aware of how people refer to this mansion? They say that a witch lives here. Not merely a witch. A cursed witch. If you remain here, you too shall likely suffer your own destruction. You're worried for my well-being? Witch or not, my mind is made up. I was sent to this cursed witch's mansion to atone for my transgressions back in the city. What transgressions? It didn't matter where I lived. I had no choice. Which will strike you first, I wonder? Regret or the curse? You seem to be doing just fine. It's only a tale. The witch is real. Very much so. It is not a legend, nor a fairy tale. The witch's name was Morgana. It's me. Okay, so we've seen that. Ooh, different. I wonder maybe... I wonder if that's his perspective, maybe. And maybe the roses are her. Yes. That was our first encounter. It was nothing flowery or dramatic. It was rather laced with suspicion and wariness. We knew nothing about one another, and I had no interest in changing that. But nonetheless, that was where it all began. Yep. Okay, this is his. Where my history with her commenced. Is that? Oh! Oh, cute! Oh, look at her short hair. Ah, I see. This is the bit I was wondering about on the outfit. I see. That makes more sense. Is that, so is this Ivy? I think it is. That would make sense. If it's like roses and poison ivy or something. That would check out. The woman had jade eyes. Open wide, they glimmered like jewels in the light shining through the stained glass window. She seemed to be at a loss for words. I wasn't lying, per se. The rumors that a witch lived in this house, and I was the only one who filled that criteria. Thus, said rumors could be interpreted to be talking about me. After staring at me dumbfounded for a few moments, the woman suddenly burst into laughter. Oh, wow. Here I was thinking you were kind of scary, and it turns out you're actually quite funny. What? I never would have guessed you were someone to tell such ridiculous joke with a straight face. I wasn't. You don't look at all like a witch. I mean, it's dark and I can't really see. But you seem to me like a rather handsome man. The word witch. The word witch has a broader meaning than just a woman who practices magic. Any unholy person with cursed powers, man or woman, can be considered a witch. I think I get what you're trying to say, but my mental image of a witch is definitely more a woman. So you're not a witch. To tell you the truth, I didn't know who might be here, which had me rather scared, but I think I can make this work. What do you? Oh, this is where it starts, huh? That's kind of funny. Okay. It's a pleasure to meet you, Master. Master? I was sent here from your old home. Oh! I was an Abigail for your mother, but, well, I might have made a little goof. I froze the moment the word left her mouth. Home. It rattled around in my skull, shaking up terrible memories that almost brought me to my knees. Why, after all these years, were they reaching out to me now? Even sending someone to bring me back. Just sending someone. And not even sending someone, sorry. To what end? For what purpose had they shipped an Abigail out to this remote mansion? What was my mother thinking? Was this another one of her attempts to break my curse? What do you mean you made a little goof? My voice came out weak. I did my best not to let it show on my face. It was a teeny tiny mistake. Nothing you need to concern yourself with. What did Mother say about me? Well, it was actually your father who told me to come here. I never really spoke to your mother much. Father sent you? That made even less sense. Why would he have? Does Father even know I was here? No. If he had known, I would have been. Who was this woman? What was her goal in asking to stay here? Well, there you have it. I'll be here for a while. If you need of anything, do not hesitate to ask. I'm confident I can handle most everyday tasks. Now, where should I begin? Oh, I know. Are you hungry, Master? Food? I can't imagine you eat much, being as skinny as you are. Okay, I've actually I feel like I'm sort of like hovering between the maid's original voice and like white-haired girl's voice and sort of blending them a little bit. Just a tad in some ways, you know, which feels actually a little more right, honestly, because I don't feel like her personality fully fits white-haired girl's voice, but like she has her little white-haired girl moments, but like then also the chaotic maid moments, you know. I don't know. So it's like sort of a blend a little more. I turned my back on her without responding. No matter what her goal was, she'd been sent from that house. There was no way anything good could come of that, and there was no way I could live with someone who had ties to them. I prayed she would take the hint, give up, and leave. Master! And so, I kept ignoring her. Master! Master! I ignored. Master! I ignored her. Master, what would you like for supper? Nothing! But failed, spinning back and shouting. Her eyes went wide, and then she gave a sheepish giggle. I glared at her as she fidgeted uncomfortably. Eating is one of the most basic human needs, so if you're hungry, you should really eat. I said I didn't want. What was that sound? Must you ask? It's not a very polite thing to ask a lady, you know. Huh? You know, it was a long trip, and all I had to eat on the road was dried fruit. I felt like I was some kind of animal. So, what I'm trying to say is that I'm hungry. That was in the stomach of her That wasn't the sound of her stomach growling, was it? I thought lightning had struck in the distance. And would like some supper. The kitchen is at the far end of the hall on the first floor. Why is she so meekcore? God, I feel that. Sometimes I'm like, hey, are you hungry? Hey, you hungry? When I'm really the one hungry, I'm like, wow, you should eat, me being the hungry one. She's so relatable. There's food in the cellar. Help yourself to any of it. Thank you so much. I honestly feel like I haven't eaten in days and I'm about to die of starvation. Oh, and I shouldn't need any help finding it. I plan on exploring the house anyway. It's rather exciting, being a new place. Ugh. Damn it, that did not go as planned. Oh well, she can do as she pleases. I'll have nothing to do with it. Oh, Master, are you sure you don't... No. Master? Master! What is it now? My name is Giselle. It's a pleasure to meet you. And your name oh, Master, you... I actually left the room that time, making my way back to my chambers. At some point, I would seriously have to chase her out, especially considering she had come from that house. But regardless, I was not terribly fond of her. They're silly. I didn't really understand Michelle, but that was probably because we were still essentially strangers. Having been sent to the mansion as reparation for my mistakes, I wasn't sure who I might find there, but I was tentatively convinced he wasn't a terrible person. He didn't do anything to me, except stay away. Michel spent most of his time in his chambers, which she had told me to never enter under any circumstances, so we rarely encountered one another in the halls. For that reason, I made an effort to be kind and cheerful on the sporadic occasions we did cross paths. I figured if I had kept that up long enough, he would eventually warm up to me. And as new housemates, being able to enjoy our time together was obviously preferable to the alternative. If I did manage to break the ice, I hoped we would be able to do some talking. About the mansion, about him, about me. I just had to keep working on it. Michel didn't need me to take care of him. He handled his own day-to-day needs and activities by himself, and in fact, he didn't ask me for anything. Oh, you know what? I just fully realized the fact that his mother is still alive. Like, both of his parents are still alive. We haven't heard anything about his, like, curse, so I don't know if like, I mean, he is talking about a curse. I guess we don't know that it's on him or, like, that it's, real, per se, I guess. Well, I'm sure something's real. I mean, there has to be some sort of weird magic thing going on. This man has lived forever, and so is he. So it's like, there has to be something happening, but we don't know that the touch curse thing is, like, for real, you know? And I mean, his mom's still alive, so... An aristocrat who had no use for a servant. I hadn't met anyone like him before. All right, then. That meant about all I could do was clean. I wasn't sure how his room looked, but the rest of the house was, quite frankly, an absolute disaster. The dust was so heavy, it was obvious it hadn't been touched in years. Let's get started. It couldn't be healthy to live in these conditions, so I set out to clean each room in the house, one by one. That said, it wasn't going to be an easy task. Not because I was bad at cleaning. In fact, I considered myself quite good at it. But because it was near impossible to find all the dust and grime that needed cleaning under the flickering light of a candle. I can't understand how anyone sane can live in this dark. What's wrong with him? Maybe he's actually a vampire. Oh god. Wouldn't that be interesting? I can see it now. Him sneaking out every night to suck the blood of pretty girls. Priceless. Ah! That means I'm in trouble. Look at me, Miss One-Woman Comedy Show here. Yep. If I am able to get him to warm up to me, though, maybe that'll give me a little more room to make some changes. Like opening some windows. No light and no fresh air. No, thank you. Anyway, I set the candlestick down, pulled over a chair to stand on, and started wiping down the shelf. The chair's legs seemed to be uneven as it wobbled slightly beneath me. So many books. I wonder, do they all belong to him? I knew parchment was expensive, so it was rather astonishing seeing this many stacks of it in one place. There were even some books with bulky, extravagantly decorated covers. He does come from an esteemed family. I'd spent enough time at his family's home. It was a constant bustle of servants and guests, the exact opposite of what this mansion was like. Why had he left his home? What had he done to be sent all the way out here to this remote mansion with a less than savory reputation? I need to be careful not to overstep my bounds. I am a servant now. A servant. Was she not a servant before? But once the thought had crossed my mind, I couldn't get it out. I'd always had a bad tendency to chase my curiosities as soon as they struck, pushing to scratch the itch no matter how much my actions annoyed others. I couldn't do that here, though. I was simply a servant, and if I got on Michelle's bad side, I risked getting thrown out. I wonder what kind of books he's got in here. So I attempted to distract myself. I grabbed one of the books and attempted to pull it out. What? But the strings binding the parchment must have gotten tangled at the back. Whoa! Because the books on either side tilted back with it. Ah! And then the entire row came crashing down on top of me. Ow! Oh, for cripe's sake. I'd fallen off the chair, and a downpour of books was still coming down on me. A mountain of dust with it. Seriously? What are you doing? What? Suddenly, Michelle was there, looking down on me from a little ways away. There was, as usual, not much I could read from his expression, but I could hear a vague trace of exasperation in his voice. I was doing some cleaning and... Impressive work. I'm usually better at this. It's just so dark. Mistakes should be expected. I really think we should open some windows, Master. Get some light, some air flowing through here. I never asked you to clean anything. You did this entirely yourself. But there's so much dust. It can't be good for you. I am perfectly healthy. I don't see the problem. Had he even seen himself? No way someone that skinny was perfectly healthy. You look like you have something to say. You can make out my face in this darkness? You know, I wanted to be useful and cleaning is all I can do here, so, you know. I was sensing something else, but all right. He let out a sigh, stepped over towards the pile of books, and then reaching his hand out down for me. I suddenly felt a pang of embarrassment about the fact I was still splayed out on the floor, but I raised my hand up to take his, only for him to pick up a book instead. You could at least help me up. You have legs, he said casually, returning the book to the top shelf. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe he was a terrible person. Whew. I don't know, but I still don't think this relationship was, so far at least, as bad as was being implied. You know what I mean? Oh, she looks cute in the candlelight. She's so cute. So, Master, are all these books yours? Giselle asked, not a trace of remorse visible on her face, Despite having made a mess of the room she was supposedly trying to clean.
It's so interesting, actually, how different her personality is, obviously, from White-Haired Girl. Because White-Haired Girl's so timid and demure. And, like, I feel like White-Haired Girl this door, or, okay, sorry. I feel like White-Haired Girl last door, which was 4, right? Was, like, closer to her personality than all the other White-Haired Girls were, right? Which is probably because it's a, like, romantified, like, perfect version of their story, I guess. Perfect, you know what I mean, like, perfect, you know, like, you know what I mean. Storybook version, you know. But she's very obviously not White-Haired Girl, and, like, has a lot more spunk to her, which is visible in, like, the maid that we see. I don't even know that we see it as much in the maid throughout the stories, throughout the doors, right? Which is interesting to me, because I feel like while she's got some spunk to her, some quirkiness to her, right? She's way more spunky and quirky when she's pulling us around to all the doors, right? And hearing her backstory there. Like, I feel like she's got a little bit, but it's very toned down, which is very interesting, because White-Haired Girl is such a toned down version of her in this, which is kind of sad, but I guess fits the theme. And I wonder if that's, like, ideal to her, which is kind of sad, because I love her personality, you know? I don't know. Anyway.
I gave a curt nod.
Really? That's impressive. Must have been hard work getting them all in here, huh?
There's gotta be 100 books here. You could fill a whole carriage, at least.
It's like you've got your own personal library.
She'd been pouting only a few moments earlier, but her smile was back in short order. Her jade eyes were like little balls of curiosity, glittering in the faint candlelight.
It's also so interesting. I wonder if, like, her... Well, obviously, she's into Michelle, right? Because this is their story, right? And I wonder... I wonder if her ideal of beauty, then, is, like, the red eyes and white hair. Because that's Kim. And I thought it was weird that they looked so similar in door 4. I was like, why do White-Haired Girl and Michelle look like identical? But I guess maybe it's because of this, right? Which is why I kept that theory of, like, family, like, with the painter and stuff. But then they were like, oh no, and I was like, okay, I guess, I mean, sure.
I was not particularly fond of overly expressive, rather, overly curious women. Did they not care that they trampled uninvited into other people's personal spaces?
Alright, as an overly curious person, whatever. Alright, okay, I know my actions are invasive. Frick off, Michelle.
Or were they not even aware that their actions were invasive? I averted my gaze from hers. I receive one roughly every month.
Ah, I see. Wait.
She turned back towards the shelves. I presume she understood the implications of what I had just said, of the fact that there were nearly 100 tomes here, and I received only one a month. Giselle fell silent. I couldn't blame her if she thought my circumstances, or my family, or my life bizarre. But I didn't care what she thought of me. In fact, it was to my advantage for her to be uncomfortable. I just needed her to stay quiet and keep her nose out of my business. There's more than I thought. I said not to her, but to myself. I had no reason to count the passage of time anymore. Only the books served as a record for how long I had been here.
121.
What?
There are 121 books. 10 years and 1 month.
You were counting? I thought she had just sheepishly gone quiet. What an inscrutable woman. You've been here in the mansion for that long? All by yourself? The truth was, there have been times when I wasn't alone. But Giselle had no need to know that. You already know the answer. A look of pity formed in Giselle's eyes. Enough. I never asked for her sympathy. I am here by choice. You mean you weren't banished here? No restraint, this woman. No. I came here of my own volition. I didn't care enough to elaborate, though. Picking another book off the floor, I brushed the dust off its cover. It was a gaudily decorated tome. That's a very fancy book, isn't it? But apparently, Giselle was unable to take a hint. What's it about? I let out a sigh and opened to no page in particular, sticking the book out toward her. She was a servant and a woman. There was no way she could read. She can read. I know it. I know it in my soul. Girlie can read. I know she can do it. You can do it, Giselle. Let's see here. It's so interesting to me. It's so interesting to me. She can read. White-haired girl very obviously cannot read. It's like throughout any of the freaking doors. Well, it was like any of the doors. But then I was like, maybe 3. She writes. She must be able to read. Okay, 3 she can write in and read. But 1, 2, and 4 she can't. So, like, very interesting. This land is hardly suitable for cultivation. It can only produce over sour grapes. I would probably get more out of it if I tore down the fields and made it into a market. Sounds like a lord's diary. You can read? I was caught slightly off guard. It was rare for a noble woman to be able to read and write, let alone a servant. Was she truly what she claimed to be? She keeps saying I am like a servant now, so I imagine maybe she was nobility in the past. Or like, okay, maybe not nobility. She was something that was not a servant. Nobility is a stretch. She might not have been nobility. I had someone teach me. So is this book any interesting? It's a dull, worthless tripe. I can't imagine why anyone thought it was worth binding. Tough crowd. But it's not very often you get to see a lord's diary. I am rather curious what kinds of things he griped about. Lord or king, what value was there in another's grumblings? There was no knowledge contained within that book, just emotions and slightly scribbles. And there was nothing more exhausting in this world than being emotional. If you want to read it, be my guest. That wasn't my intention, but alright. Once I've got the whole mansion cleaned, I'll read it. I told you don't have to clean. Oh, I've got an idea, Master. If you're interested, maybe we could read together. Did you hear a word I just said? It's dull, white, worthless tripe. Still, you might see it differently if you read it with someone else. And I'm sure there are some books here you would enjoy, Master. You're wasting your time. The suspicion and restraint budding between us wasn't trite and insignificant at that point. She was still smiling, after all. If I had been able to maintain that distance, then perhaps I wouldn't have ended up hurting her. Interesting. I like that it's swapping so much between them, though. It had been a little under 2 weeks since I moved in with Michel. Though we lived in the same house, we rarely saw each other. On unlucky days, I wouldn't see him at all. I actually haven't. One sec. I really don't think there's anything in here, but I mean, if I don't look in here, there's gonna be something like bright red that I just completely missed. I doubt it. Okay. I wasn't sure if he ate in his room or our schedules were simply misaligned, but we never had any meals together. Perhaps he was deliberately avoiding me. That has to be it. I know servant and master don't usually eat at the same table, but even so, he could be a little less obvious about it. Am I really that much of a nuisance? I'm not doing anything inappropriate, am I? I'm being pleasant and sociable, aren't I? I haven't given him any reason to not like me, I think. I hope. He had never been very enthusiastic about my staying here. But I hadn't been given a choice. I'd been sent here by his family. Besides... No. Out with the negative thoughts. Gotta stay positive. Yeah, he hasn't tried to chase me out yet. I just haven't broken the ice. I had to stay positive, optimistic, happy thoughts, be myself. As long as I kept working at it, with enough time, Michelle would surely come around and not be so distant. I've got a goal, so let's get to work. First, I make supper, then I ask him to have it with me. Gotta be proactive when it comes to reclusive types. All right, here goes. Or here would go, but we're almost out of supplies. So, well, too much for that. The cellar was where the non-perishable food was stored. Dried foods, smoked meats, cheeses, and a small scattering of root vegetables. Looking at this makes me feel like a soldier holding down a castle's fortifications. Had Michelle really gone 10 years on nothing but this? I would have raised the white flag long ago. He said he hadn't left the mansion at all in those 10 years. I assume he at least goes out to get supplies, right? Running out of food is kind of a life or death matter. I can't believe he hasn't set foot outside even once, and... What are you babbling on about? What the... Oh no, he overheard me. I assumed you were talking to someone. Huh? Does anyone else live here, Master? I haven't seen anyone. It is just the two of us. Alive, anyway. You mean there are ghosts? Something of the sort. There you go again with the jokes. I'm not a child. You're not gonna trick me like that. There are adults who believe in such things. I suppose, but I don't really believe in ghosts or demons or curses or any of that. The church just tries to convince people they're real so they can squeeze more money out of them. I love Giselle. She's so fun. I'm kind of heartbroken because I really feel like she toned herself down on purpose because she thought it would like seem better, and it makes me kind of sad because she's so like fun. No shame to white-haired girl, but Giselle kind of the girl, you know? I don't know, maybe white-haired girl. The line white-haired girl was never at the mansion doesn't necessarily mean that she was alive or wasn't alive. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like maybe she exists, but like maybe she doesn't. I don't know. Maybe she exists, but like just never showed up at the mansion ever. I don't know. I'm curious. Where did all those stories come from? Did you just make them up, Giselle? Well, she made the last one up, that's for sure. So, But it kind of makes me sad. It makes me feel like she doesn't really like her personality as much, or think of it as desirable. I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking that. Am I going to have to turn you over to the church, you blasphemer? No. I pray every day, honest. I don't particularly care either way. I'm returning to my chambers. What? Already? You didn't, come down for food? I only came down because I heard voices. A moment. Please, just wait a second. What? Our stores are almost empty. What do you normally do when you need more food? I'll happily accompany you on a trip to the market. Already? That was fast. There are two of us. I really don't eat that much, do I? In the dim light, it was difficult to make out Michelle's expression, but I thought I could see a tinge of annoyance on his face. Hold your ground, Giselle. You said you wanted to get closer to him. Is that a parsnip? Michelle was holding a tangled ball of roots. The reason I asked was because the parsnip looked like it was on the verge of total decomposition. See? There's still food. He then handed it to me.
Oh my god. Wait. You want me to eat that? It's clearly seen better days. You're going to get sick. Or are you telling me you can survive on rotten vegetables?
Of course I won't eat it. I just figured you were hardy enough to survive.
What do you think I am? No, he is definitely a jerk.
Or that the resulting diarrhea might reduce your appetite.
You're kidding, right? You can't be serious. Anyway, we should bury that outside. Then we can go purchase fresh supplies.
I told you, I don't go outside.
Then how do you... Huh? A visitor? Who could it be?
Perfect timing. You're a servant. Make yourself useful and go retrieve the package. If it's not a delivery, but a wanderer, chase them off.
What package? Master? Hold on a second. What are you talking about? He's gone.
What kind of delivery is he expecting? Michel stood there, unmoving, veiled in shadow. He glanced over at me, then threw his gaze to the front door. At his command, I raised the bar, pulling open the door. After nearly 2 weeks inside, the light from the setting sun almost blinded me. The world went white, my head pounding. After a few moments of intense blinking, my eyes acclimated themselves to the evening sunlight. There was no one outside, only a crate easily large enough to fit a child.
Is this the package, Master?
I turned back to face Michel, but he wouldn't meet my eyes, though it seemed more like he was avoiding looking at the light than at me.
He's starting to seem more and more like a vampire. Not that I believe in vampires, of course. Regardless, I pray there's nothing bad in here. That's heavy. But Master, could I get some help? Gee, thanks. I'm a servant, admittedly, but this is a lot to ask of just one girl. A little help sure would be nice.
Once it's inside, close and bar the door, he said, dispassionately, his head still turned towards the darkness.
As you wish, Master.
Once the door was shut, I found myself sucked back into a world of darkness. It hadn't even been 2 weeks, but the lack of light was beginning to become my normal. The outside world growing farther and farther away.
Being holed up in here is definitely not good for me. I should go for a walk sometime. Maybe plant some flowers or vegetables. Yeah, I like that idea. Maybe I can grow that old tangle of roots into some fresh parsnip. What else do we have to plant? Be great if there were some flower seeds.
What are you doing? Open the box now.
As you wish, Master. Oh, there's food inside.
In the box was a burlap sack filled with berries, root vegetables, and smoked meats, as well as an assortment of bread, fruits, and wine. Aside from the fruit and bread, everything else was the same as what Michel kept in the cellar.
Ah,
and buried beneath the burlap sack was a single book.
1 book a month. He really hasn't gone outside in 10 years.
It appears you have begun to grasp the situation.
Yeah, but why? This was delivered by someone from your house, Master, wasn't it?
A servant, I assume.
Why would they leave without saying anything?
No one wants to talk to a cursed man. In the past, they would occasionally check in on me, but that hasn't happened recently.
They think you're cursed?
Ah, right. You don't believe in curses. Then come up with your own explanation, an excuse for them to stay away from me. That, for example, I killed someone. Or maybe I'm insane.
I couldn't.
Regardless, I am not normal. Bring the food down to the cellar. the book to the library. You are, of course, free to refuse and run back into the woods. I'll do it. All right. Then you take care of that. Hey! What is that? I just noticed there's something else in here. It's wrapped in cloth. What could it be? Oh, a painting. For you to hang up somewhere in the house, I presume. It's so dark I can't see it very well, but I'm sure it's... Don't touch that. What? Michel, who had kept his distance from me until that point, suddenly marched over and ripped the painting from my grasp. Master? His face was twisted into a look I had never seen him make before. So I guess he painted that? Which I guess makes sense because the person in the painting was saying that we were probably the one who painted that painting, right? We being Michel. Interesting. Okay. His face was twisted into a look I had never seen him make before. Was it indignation, disgust, hatred, panic? I couldn't tell, but there was more than enough negative pressure to cause me to flinch back. Is that painting perhaps, something important? A landscape painting, he muttered under his breath, the tension melting away from his face. I was left looking at his usual blank, impenetrable expression, but his eyes were still fixated on the picture, staring at it unblinkingly. Why a landscape painting? Some kind of passive-aggressive message. It's not of anything anywhere nearby. Did they travel somewhere? Well, it's none of that girl, so that's an improvement.
What girl?
Master? Oh, you're still here?
Still here? Of course I'm still here.
I wonder if that girl is white-haired girl. Maybe I was right to assume that white-haired girl does exist, just never in this mansion.
Who do you think you asked to take care of that package? What's with you? Just running over and snatching the painting from me? You scared me. Could you maybe explain yourself? What's so special about that painting?
I don't believe that's any of your business.
None of my... Of course it is! You ripped it out of my hand like I was some kind of thief! I have a right to know what that was all about. And maybe an apology while you're at it. You told me to open the box, so I did. And all of a sudden you're angry?
We are not equals. Do not mistake yourself for my friend. You have a right to know. You have no such thing.
You don't have to be rude.
I'll say it again. Leave if you don't like it here. I never asked for you to be here. That was your wish.
My wish? Are you out of your mind? I never asked for this. I never wished for this. Who in their right mind would want to be sent to some house in the middle of nowhere? Who would ever want to go through that?
No. Calm down, Giselle. You can't get angry.
You're right. That is what I wanted. But I never wanted to make you mad or for us to argue like this. I just wanted to get to know you better. To get closer to you. I mean, it would make things smoother for the both of us. It would make living together more enjoyable for us.
Listen carefully. This is very important for you to understand. Do not try to involve yourself with me. Do not go probing around for information. And if you can't do that, leave.
I
completely shut out. The glare he was giving me and the standoffish aura he was emanating were reflected in his tone of voice. Why? Why did he push me away like that? It seemed Giselle really didn't know much about me. Despite being sent here from my house, she was unaware of the monthly deliveries, as well as the reason I had lived in this mansion all by myself. Why, though, would they not have told her anything? Why had she been sent here completely in the dark? Giselle looked up at me, fear and bewilderment in her eyes, though I thought I could see a glint of suspicion beneath it all. Like her true feelings were bubbling to the surface. Everyone had darkness in them they had kept hidden. No one was exactly who they appeared to be. She was undoubtedly thinking, I'm not here because I want to be. I knew from the moment I saw her that her bubbly, sweet effect was all a facade. Had she thought I was dense enough to not realize, she was not different from anyone else. What I didn't understand, though, was why she refused to leave no matter how hard I pushed. What was she hiding beneath that innocent-looking face? What was she thinking? What did she carry on her shoulders? Everyone was hiding something, deceiving those around them. I had to figure out what she really was. May I ask you something?
Yes?
On the day you arrived, you said you made a teeny tiny mistake while working at my family's house. Tell me about that. What did you do at the Bollinger estate? In that moment, brief though it was, her disposition wavered. Fear? Terror? No. Perhaps anger? I couldn't tell. Nevertheless, it was abundantly clear that that was a subject she had no interest in me breaching. And so, she had borne her fangs. The smile she donned now was visibly forced.
It's nothing you need to concern yourself with, Master. I promise it was an insignificant little thing.
She couldn't say. Why couldn't she tell me? What had she done there? What did this woman know about that house? What did she know about me? What was concealed beneath that smile of hers? I'm the master of this house and you are a servant, and you still refuse to tell me?
Like I said, it's nothing. There's no reason to bother you with a mere servant's personal blunders, Master.
What are you hiding?
I'm not hiding anything.
Then you should be able to tell me exactly what you did at the Bollinger estate.
Like I said.
Tell me. Tell me.
You wouldn't tell me a thing about yourself, and yet you demand others tell you about themselves? Here you are practically threatening me, demanding I tell you something I don't want to talk about, and yet you still haven't told me anything about the painting.
So I was right. You do have something to hide. How many times must I repeat myself?
We are not equals.
I don't care if it's insignificant or something you don't want to talk about.
What?
I'm ordering you to tell me. A trifling blunder will not get someone sent to live with a cursed man in a house spoken of so unfavorably. Whatever she had done at the Bollinger estate, that had something to do with why she was here. If she truly hadn't done anything, then she would have something to gain from this place, or possibly from me. And if that was the case, I had to get her to talk.
Make me.
Giselle's eyes were wide open. I recognized the look she was giving me. I knew very well what that gaze meant.
You're an abomination.
It was the same as them. Fear, contempt, revulsion, repulsion. The way she acted, the way she spoke, it was exactly the same. You're no different. I made her uncomfortable. I made her afraid. She thought I was unpleasant. She thought I was despicable.
She sure didn't say any of that.
She thought I was an abomination. In a frenzy, I grabbed her by the shoulders, clamping down far more powerfully than I had meant to.
Ow! Stop!
Her face contorted in pain, morphed into someone else's. Who was I directing my anger at? Where was this rage being aimed? Who are you calling an abomination?
What? Tell me, who?
The black furor bubbling up from within me knew no end. The girl, she ridiculed me. She denied my identity with her glare. I couldn't escape from that phantom, that reality. What are... I never called you... No! Get away from me! Get your hands off of me! Giselle's scream echoed in the entrance hall, rattling my eardrums. She frantically smacked my arms aside, and then I came back to my senses. She was standing a little ways away, breathing heavily, arms wrapped tight around her body, glowering at me, showing her opposition to my touching her. Enlightening. No. You startled me, that's all. Some servant you are telling your master not to touch you. Oh, right, I have I'm, allergic to people. It's very, very unique condition, I hear. I mean, can you believe that? See, you know how some people get all red and itchy when they touch a dog or cat? It's that, except for people, so... I feel like that's sort of where the no touching people thing came from, but was put onto him. I see. So, I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to be disrespectful. I beg your forgiveness. Why don't you speak your mind? What? This is going through your mind right now. I have nothing to apologize for. No, that's not... I can somewhat sympathize with your plight, being made to apologize even though you're hurting. I raised my hand against you first, after all. Then you forgive me? Sympathy does not equate to forgiveness. Now, you take care of the package. I'm heading back to my chambers. What is it? You're not going to make me leave after what I just did? No, I am not. For it would seem I could make you leave on your own whenever I so please. Besides, I had yet to learn what she had done. It would be exceedingly difficult to get the story from her own mouth, which left me one option, to write a letter to my mother, as much as the very thought revolted me. Ooh, spicy. Okay. And back to her. And I guess we're gonna end here. Let me make sure to save before I forget. Ooh, okay. Interesting. So far it just feels like a lot of what we're seeing is just like the the truthful version of the glorified stuff we've already seen, and just realizing, I guess, where a few of the things come from and where a few of the, like, I don't know, some of the weird things, I guess, originate from, and where it feels like what we're seeing is the beginning of, like, a telephone game. Does that make sense? Like, we're seeing the beginning of the story, and what we saw before this door 4 was, like, over the years, over time, it'd been, I'm sure it hadn't actually been passed through other people's ears, but you know what I mean. It had been passed along, and some things had been changed, and it's like fishing stories where as time goes on, the fish gets bigger, and it gets more dramatic, and stuff like that. Like, it was more romanticized, and it was more, like, glorified, and the prettier version of the tale, that had changed on, and adapted, and etc. But I really don't have much to say. I feel like we're just, I guess, seeing the truth now, but I don't know. I feel like Michel's being really down on himself, but I don't really think he's a horrible man. He's a little pissy, he's a little piss baby, but he's not horrible. Maybe that's also because we've seen such horrible men throughout all the other doors. I'm just like, well, I mean, it's not really that bad. I mean, a little angry. It kind of sucks that he's writing his mom, but, like, you know, at least he didn't murder her, right? Standards in the floor. Standards in hell right now with all of this. But thank you guys for watching. Happy Morgana Monday. I hope you have a good one. Let me know what you thought down below. I really don't have much to say. I hope you guys are having a nice Monday. You guys eating anything fun? You guys got any weird allergies? I don't. I'm not allergic to anything. Huh? Anyway, all my socials are down below. Goodbye. See you next Monday.